Ey, sí, sí, ey, uno, dos, sí,
Perfecto.
ey,
Sí, y si podemos, lo voy a parar. Si podemos probar el de adelante, ese ya lo probamos. Ah, ya. ¿Por ahí de ahí?
si quieres lo apagas también para que no
Ya.
cuando van el cortado acá, pero cuando comience cuando está encendido, encenderá.
Tiene que estar en verde.
Tiene que estar en verde. Ya, ok.
Probando.
Testing. Perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the NAP Expo 2023 in Chile, and especially to this event that is harnessing the power of youth in the national adaptation plans. My name is Adriana Valenzuela. I lead the Youth Leadership Program at the Global Center on Adaptation. The event will be held in Spanish and English. Then if you don't have your headphones, then please use. And also, we are very glad that the event is live streamed. Then first of all, welcome to all our speakers. We have young people and decision makers from all over the world. A big applause for them, please. Also, we have young people and governments and different organizations watching this live stream from all over the world, and especially also governments working in the national adaptation plans. Today, we have a very special day. We are talking about the power of young people in the national adaptation plans, but as well in not only policies, but as well in action. And today, just only few hours ago, at the General Assembly in New York, governments adopted and agreed by consensus by a proposal of Vanuatu, requesting the International Court of Justice in The Hague to provide an advisory opinion about the implications that climate change has in the human rights of the present and future generations. And this initiative started in a classroom in a university in Vanuatu. Then today is a day to celebrate the leadership, the passion of young people that have demonstrated that they really can influence decision-making processes, and today the UN Assembly has adopted this resolution. Then a big applause, and I will request that all of them, for the people that are watching, for the people in Vanuatu, for the young leaders that work very hard with governments, a big congratulations for your leadership. Then today we have a very exciting agenda, and I want to express my sincere gratitude to el gobierno de Chile. Muchísimas gracias, Joana, a Julio, a todos.
Chilean government, and thank you, Jana, and the entire government and our Chilean brothers for the way that they have received us, they welcomed us, and the organization of this expo.
Working to put together this event, but especially as well to the LEC multi-stakeholder group and also to the members of the LEC. Thank you for making possible that today at the NAP Expo in Chile, this event about the power of young people in the NAP is hosted at the plenary, and we have live stream and simultaneous translation. The session today, we have three parts. The first part, we will have a general overview about youth and what the Global Center on Adaptation is doing to strengthen the youth adaptation movement, but as well to promote this partnership between governments and young leaders. Then we will have a concrete experience about how the government of Chile has integrated and has really engaged young people in different policies. We also will hear from the LEC multi-stakeholder group about how the group is really promoting the participation of youth, but especially the experience of empowering youth, young people in different countries. And from this session that is setting the scene, we will hear about concrete stories of change, young people leading adaptation solutions. We will have experience from Chile. We will also have the winners of the Youth Adapt competition from Cameroon, and we have just a different initiative. And at the end, we will have an intergenerational dialogue, and I am very pleased that the lead negotiator of adaptation is also with us from COP28. COP28 this year will be held in Dubai. And we will have an intergenerational dialogue as well with members of Youngo to discuss what are the needs to promote youth empowerment and youth engagement with the national adaptation plans, what are the gaps and the challenges, but also what are the good practices and methodologies that exist that we can use. This event also will take input because GCA will produce a guide about engaging youth in the national adaptation plans. Then, without any other introduction, let me start. I will, next slide, please. Next. I want to give you a general overview about what is the Global Center on Adaptation. The Global Center on Adaptation is an international organization that was established, and our main objective is to accelerate adaptation action and adaptation solutions. We are a solution broker, and we have our headquarters, that is the largest floating office in the world that you can see in the photo, is in Rotterdam. But also we have an office in Bangladesh, we have in China and in other places. We work through partnerships, and the Global Center on Adaptation has a program called Really Actors and Empowering Them to Lead Adaptation Solutions. Next one. Let's watch this video that can provide a general overview about what happened last year in Rotterdam, please. We will need to put the video, exactly. Last year in Rotterdam, young people from 50 countries, but also 100 around the world, got together at the Youth Dialogue. And it will be, we will see here the video. Just let's try to check the audio. That you can see are the key messages.
The only thing that we can do is now push forward for adaptation solutions.
So young people need more funding.
Climate adaptation education to be included.
Raise your voice, challenge your leaders. Tell them that, Mr. President, Mr. Governor, this is the world. I am, and my succeeding generation will lead, make sure that this planet Earth should be climate friendly and sustainable.
You know, I want to be like this group when I grow up. That's what I want to be. Because somehow we've got to get the energy and we've got to get the message right. What is the message that will call leaders to act so that they will not leave their homes without thinking, I'm not leaving this home until I know what it is I'm going to do when I get to the office or when I get up on a podium. That they feel the challenge, I'd like to say sometimes the fear of not doing. Because there are billions, it's not millions by the way, it's billions of people out there that are being affected by climate change. And it's very real.
Engaging youth inclusion as far as adaptation agenda is concerned.
Not just inclusion, but also recognition of our ancestral technologies.
Last year, the Global Center on Adaptation organized 6 regional youth adaptation dialogues and 1 forums and 1 dialogue that brought together their recommendations related the global goal on adaptation, the national adaptation plans, but also other key areas for them, like creating jobs and entrepreneurship, the topic about the empowerment of young women, education, training, and capacity building, and many others. Then, why we are working with young people? First of all, today we have the largest generation of young people in the world, and many of them are living in the global south. Young people are suffering the impacts of climate change, but young people also play an important role as agents of change. Why? Because young people also are entrepreneurs. They are working and they are creating different companies and businesses. They can liderate innovation and solutions. Then it's an imperative to bring together young people and to work with them in the design and also the implementation of the national adaptation plans, but especially to bring together and to create partnership with them to implement adaptation solutions. Next one. Then the Global Center on Adaptation works with 4 main areas in the youth leadership and education program, and we also have some of the results. Let's. Then we have 4 business lines. The first business line is building the youth adaptation movement. We have, first of all, the Youth Adaptation Network with members in 130 countries. We have also, we organize regularly these forums, youth adaptation forums. We have the youth dialogue before the GCA Adaptation Summit, and also we have the GCA Youth Advisory Panel as a platform and a mechanism for youth participation in decision-making processes. We have the first panel last year with 12 youth from all over the world, and this year we have the panel 2023 with other 12 young leaders. The second business line is related to youth participation in decision-making processes, and this year we want to design, in collaboration with the LEC multi-stakeholder group, but also with governments, a guide about good practices and also methodologies to engage young people in the national adaptation plans, and your input will be included in this guide that will be launched at COP28. The next business line is adaptation, education, and capacity building. We have developed a toolkit on youth leadership and adaptation. It contains different modules, 8 modules. We have PDF versions, we have infographic, we have videos, and the toolkit will be available in English, French, and Arabic. And the final is empowering young women. We have developed in partnership with different organizations a training course for young women in Africa. Last year, the last cohort trained young women in 6 African countries, and we will continue this year with the next one. Some results, we have now more than 11,000 members in the Youth Adaptation Network. We have a social media that has been used to the Youth for Adaptation, and we have many convenings around the world. What will happen next? Then what is happening in 2023, and it is an invitation, we will have 6 regional youth adaptation forums. We started in March with the forum in the Pacific in conjunction with the UN Water Conference. We will continue then in May with the forum in the Pacific. In June, we will have the forum for Europe in Bonn, and then the forum in Senegal for Africa. In July, we will continue with the forum for MENA, and we will conclude with a global gathering in Kenya as part also of the climate summit that the President of Kenya has called. And all this input will be presented at COP28, and this has 3 main objectives. First of all, the youth voices can influence and can bring to decision makers related to global goal on adaptation, fostering youth participation in the design and implementation of the NAPs, and third, support the implementation of youth-led adaptation solutions. Then it is the contest. We will have the guide. We also invite you to provide your good practices and experiences that we can include in the guide. And it is a brochure. You have the QR. Then you can scan and have more information about the youth leadership program. Then it is the contest. The GCA is providing this platform to bring together young people and decision makers to work together and to accelerate adaptation action. Then now, from this, what we are going to do is we are going to learn about how governments are implementing and engaging youth in the design of different policies. Now I will switch to Spanish. Then if you have your earphones, please use your earphones because we will move to Spanish. Y ahora es un honor invitar a...
It is an honor now to invite our first panelist here, Joanna Avera, who works with the Ministry of Environment here in Chile. She's a negotiator. She has worked in many different topics. First one is the action for the education of climate change, talking about trainings, participation, the access to information, and many other adaptation issues also for gender. So thank you very much, Joanna, for being here, for joining us today. It's a big honor to have you here. Thank you very much to the people of Chile for welcoming us here and for sharing their experience. So I want to ask you for your experience here in Chile. How have you involved the youth in the creation of public policies? Here we have governments of the whole world. What would be your recommendations to involve the youth in this design? So please put your hands together for Joanna.
Sí, bueno, muchas gracias Adriana por esa introducción.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you also for this visit that you are making to our country to participate at NAP Expo. It's so important to have you here, and in particular, how to use the energy of youth to advance in our adaptation plans. So comment in the next slide how we have integrated this intergenerational perspective, because as you see, I'm a bit out of the target audience, but we still have energy to continue to work in the different adaptation policies. Next slide, please. Yesterday, the Ministry of the Environment, Maisa Roja, commented two important issues or things that occurred in 2022. On the one hand, we had the publishing the climate framework law that includes all these areas and topics that permeate NAPs and sectorial and regional adaptation plans. And we have some principles that refer to citizen participation, which has been an important approach in the design of all sectorial adaptation plans that we have to date, 8 in total, and including to the regional ones. This territorial approach, which seeks to connect with different regions and territories' needs and to understand their threats and what are the options that we have and what can we implement there, and also with a climate justice perspective and how to address vulnerable communities. That includes women, children, but also local communities, farmers, fishermen. We have to identify which are those communities. On the other hand, an important milestone in 2022 was that we ratified finally, after we took some time, the Escazú Agreement, which provides citizen access in environmental decisions. And those two topics connect with each other. And with Article 6 of the Framework Convention and the Paris Accord that talk of this issue related to access of information, participation, skills development, cooperation between stakeholders. And from the Ministry of the Environment, and specifically the Department of Climate Change, we have been advocates so that all the processes related to climate change have a participation. Preliminary, before a proposal, during the development of the law, all the bills considered a participation process to collect all the feedback. And since climate change has more interest from youth, we've always had representation from youth organizations. But specifically in the participation process of the long-term climate strategy, a special effort was made to have this intergenerational, intercultural perspective, to represent everyone in the working group, to have youth, indigenous communities, and to have representations from all national territories. As you have seen probably, we are a long and diverse country. The North has many differences to other regions. We have wildfires in some areas, and we have landslide risks in the north, glaciers in the south. So we have different impacts, and that forces us to have a very clear territorial perspective. The law establishes that we should have adaptation and mitigation sectorial plans, 12 in total. And each region has to have their own plans. There are 16 in total. And at local government level, we also need to have local plans, in addition to a watershed management instrument. And all this is accompanied by the means of implementation that have to do with the possibility of developing strategies. Last year we had a participative process where participation of youth was very active, where many ideas came out, many observations and feedback that we collected from youth. The long-term strategy had this perspective. In addition, we have a project to train youth negotiators. We had 60 applicants nationally, where 30 will be selected to be trained. And we've been able to send 2 or 3 during the recent years to the COP. We have established a sort of partnership, informal partnership with the National Youth Conference, where we participated in education programs, talking of losses and damages. I see Gladys there that also had those or made those presentations. And we could have a dialogue and to know different experiences. In addition, there is an innovation that the climate change law has, which establishes a National Council for Sustainability and Climate Change with representation of civil society that already existed from the base law of 1997, but this new climate change law modifies it, integrating it with youth parity. And they have a formal institutionality for climate change, and we can collect directly from their voices the actions that have to be included in all climate change instruments. And some good practices then that we've had throughout our experience, and some recommendations also that we've seen. We believe that to integrate youth in the process is key, because they have a point of view where we can integrate these more emerging issues in gender equality, gender equity. Always youth bring us, inform us of different sexual diversity groups. Eco-anxiety is also an issue that youth have brought to the table. These are all concepts that we incorporate to public policies. So have this transformative perspective for adaptation solutions. We believe youth through social media that allow us to disseminate information that from public agencies a bit more technical. But with youth, we're able to post things on Instagram, for example, and we're able to inform what are loss and damages, which may be a bit foreign. So we can translate climate change terminology and to present those to local communities and to replicate this information on social media. But I believe that the process, in addition to this, we have brought the voice of youth to the most international process, which is good. But I believe that those voices have to represent truly the needs, local and territory needs. If there isn't that connection, we will be lost. We need to move forward in adaptation, serving or attending the specific climate risks of each territory, and so that the measures that we implement attend those risks in those vulnerable communities. And we need our youth to help us with this connection, and they will enable us to close that gap. Youth are those that can help us to make this connection between national policies and local realities. They can help us also to create citizen science projects to connect with university. The majority are studying or in master programs or PhDs, and all that can be directed at designing adaptation measures, which is what we need to be able to face this rise in temperature and all the effects of climate change. Thank you.
Many people are connected and watching this event that is live stream. We are at the NAP Expo hosted by the government of Chile, and we will continue. We are here in the event that is about the power of youth and the importance of youth participation in the design implementation of national adaptation plans, but as well adaptation action. Then now I am also delighted to welcome our next speaker. He is Benin Yassin. He is from Malawi. He has been member of the LEG multi-stakeholder group for several years. And the LEG multi-stakeholder group in 2019 opened a space to bring together young people and to exchange good practices between governments. And since then are promoting different spaces like this one to learn from each other. Then, Benin, thank you very much for your leadership and also for hosting this event. We would like to know what the multi-stakeholder group is doing to foster the participation of youth, but especially what good practices do you know that other countries can replicate? Please, Benin, the floor is yours, Benin.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the lake is doing a lot. If you remember, in 2019 in Songdo, the lake launched the Global Youth Dialogue. The intention basically is to engage and also learn from the youth. There are very innovative ways of doing this in terms of adaptation. And I'll be giving specific examples, and I'll try to give examples from where I'm coming from, Malawi. First, in Malawi, we looking at all the processes under the UNFCCC. When we are going out to our conferences, we engage the youth. The youth in Malawi organized a youth network, and through that network, we discuss with them the agenda of the conference and also provide our country position with the youth engaged. And that's not the only area that we think the lake has been instrumental, in the sense that when we are going there, apart from understanding what we are going to discuss and what the lake does also in the conference, at national level now, there is a national youth program. And what the government has done, like in the case of Malawi, is to come up with the internship programs. What they learn in the various engagements with the policymakers, they are also attached in various ministries and departments so that what they are learning there is also put into practice. So they actually manage their offices, go through the planning processes in terms of financing allocation, implementation. All those processes are also led by the youth. And this is an opportunity. I think the lake can also engage other countries to initiate youth national programs at national level so that they are able to learn, put into practice what they learn from their engagements with the various agencies, including the lake. I also give you examples in terms of implementation. In Malawi, mostly because that's where I'm coming from, and those examples, we have youth initiatives, and in most of them, basically the ones that I'll give are two areas. The agricultural sector, youth are actually involved in programs on horticulture, production of vegetables, and their innovative ways have shown that we can learn more in terms of adaptation planning and also implementation. In in our country, we have what they call the Green Belt Initiative. So the youth are actually leading that initiative in terms of finding adaptation options. Irrigation is one of them that they are putting into that practice, and they're quite building a lot of good crops, and they're selling those crops. Apart from that, they're also employing other youth actually to move issues of adaptation. As you recall, I think 2 weeks ago, Malawi faced one of the biggest challenge in terms of floods coming from Cyclone Friday. And we see that expertise from the leg, which the leg is now involving the youth at the global level and also at regional level. There are also these regional trainings that the leg is doing. We think that through this subgroup on a stakeholder initiative, the leg will continue working with various youth groups. But again, in terms of the regional trainings that we are doing, that will provide, in terms of opportunities, to actually strengthen both planning, implementation, as well as monitoring of the intervention that we're doing in adaptation. We believe that the leg will continue doing that. And if you're coming back from Expo 2019 in Songdo, a number of lessons are learned, and you find that the youth are now coming up with the projects for implementation. And I remember myself, I'm actually supporting most of the youth groups in terms of coming up with projects. And we did one on living lakes. And the living lakes, what they have done is the youth have led up an initiative to come up with the fish ponds, and they're also training other youth to come up with the production of fish. And this is something that the leg actually can promote in terms of exchange of knowledge and also linking up the youth with markets. And actually, under this Living Lakes initiative, which the youth has led, it is actually linking that one to the market. I think these are issues that we've heard over the past 2 days, that we are doing the planning implementation, but we also look at the side of building resilience, including where you look at alternative livelihoods. I think this is what I wanted to share. It is important that these youth must be assisted in terms of identifying financing options. In so doing, I think we see a multiplier effect. They are also employing other youth, and that is actually already building resilience. I think I should end there. There's quite a lot. We need to engage. We also need to learn on what they are doing. Thank you.
We need to engage and we need to learn. Working together, governments, young people, international organizations to mobilize adaptation action. Then, in some opportunities, people say that young people are the leaders of the future, but young people are the leaders of today. And they are implementing concrete solutions. The Global Center on Adaptation launched the Youth Adapt. It's a competition targeting young entrepreneurs, especially from Africa. They receive funding, $100,000 to implement the business idea, coaching, training, also the possibility to have mentoring and connection to the private sector. And I want to showcase two good practices of the Youth Adapt. They are the winners of the competition and are concrete solutions. The first video that we are going to see is reducing floods through the drones. It is an experience by Juvenal Noum and is from Cameroon. Please, let's watch the video.
Dans notre quartier, nous sommes exposés aux intempéries majeures déjà que nous ne supportons presque pas au quotidien. Plus particulièrement en saison de pluie, nous sommes tellement mal à l'aise avec des inondations. Les drains sont bouchés, nous avons des ordures de ménagères qui ont rempli tous les drains dans le système d'évacuation des eaux. À moindre inondation, à moindre pluie, nous sommes inondés.
Climate change is making it worse because when the sea levels are rising, water needs its normal channels to pass through, and these are the drainage channels in cities. But communities are dumping their waste in those drainage channels, and the drainage channels are clogged, and so it's causing this flooding, which is a huge climate adaptation issue. Those who are affected most are women and children because of their socioeconomic status and because they have been left at home. And when the rain falls and it's very heavy, the flooding occurs in the households where the mothers and children are always. It's very important to me because I have been affected by flooding. By the age of 6, properties in my mom's house were actually destroyed caused by flooding. It made me feel like I actually had to provide a solution, especially to those who were coming from the low-income backgrounds and were abandoned by municipal authorities, that we had to find a solution for them as well. Our solution provides software for drones to quickly inspect waste on physical sites and then work with youth environmental community groups, municipalities and city councils to collect the waste and properly dispose.
Ces zones-là, elles sont nombreuses dans la ville de Douala et le moyen le plus fiable et le plus rapide pour pouvoir les détecter, c'est via un drone.
The AI technology looks through the pictures, looks through the videos, and detects areas where either there could be potential for flood, there could be potential for garbage heaps, or there could be potential for blockages in the drainage system. And when the software detects that, it actually informs whoever is using the application. It informs the person that at this precise location, it gives a Google Map location and reference. At this precise location, there is a potential for flooding occurring.
It actually helps in so many ways because at first we had to pay a lot of people to send them into the field. But with the drone now, and it actually does a survey around the town and gives us the statistics and the exact point which waste disposal is not properly done.
So every problem in the world begins with a climate change issue. That is why transforming our strategies for providing climate change adaptation solutions is the only way we all have now and in the future to make the world a better place.
À mon humble avis, je salue déjà, n'est-ce pas, l'initiative que Blickling, par exemple, a entrepris pour traquer, par les drones, enlever les déchets. Parce que, quand même le plus démuni a le droit de vivre.
Yeah. A big applause, of course. These are concrete solutions that demonstrate the power of young people. We have another experience mode, but we will move and just check this at the end. Then now, from these solutions, what we are going to do is to hear stories of change and also how young people are implementing adaptation solutions. And we will continue. We move from the continent of Africa, and now we will go to Chile. Then I am delighted to welcome two of our speakers, and I want to mention them. We have Álvaro and we have Carolina. Both of them from Chile. Álvaro was one of the organizers of the COI when Chile was the host. The COI is the Conference of Youth. And he and Carolina are working on nature-based solutions and also education and capacity building. Then Álvaro and Carolina, and to all our speakers, what I will request from you is that you share with us your experience. What are you doing? Very briefly, because we will have like 2 minutes for each one to be able. Then, please, Carolina and Álvaro, please, we have here a microphone, if you can help me with the microphone. Then, what are you doing and how through this process of education and capacity building you are also mobilizing nature-based solutions?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I work in schools. I am a teacher. Some schools in Chile have programs, environmental programs, but also environmental clubs that are in the schools. And different schools have different budgets and different approaches to that clubs. Some of them are very simple with a lot of science or with a center on climate science, but other ones are start to working more on field. This obviously depends on the school budget, but also in the school infrastructure, because some schools are bigger ones. You know, in Chile we have also very small schools in some places, so it's more difficult to them. As a teacher, I used to do leadership of these groups, it is from these clubs, and try to them to start to work in solutions that came from their own ideas and their own preoccupations, because sometimes we try to impose our ideas over young people, over students, but sometimes their ideas and their preoccupations, their own ideas, they are more passionate about those ideas. So it's easier to motivate them than when you have your own program. These clubs in Chile, they in fact are kind of officials. They are called gestores agroecológicos. So they have a system in Chile. They have a different type of even awards and stuff. So work with them is very good. As a teacher, I think it's very important for adaptation and in nature-based solutions to them to understand that they could have solutions in their hands. They don't need like a super big budget. They don't need like a lot of technology, but sometimes with recycling some stuff and resource to indigenous knowledge and historical knowledge, they could do a lot. So I think that is one of the main stuff that I'm doing now. And also working with Quiero Mi Barrio, that is also a program in Chile to increase the security or restoration of neighborhoods. And there we also are working on changing the trees of the neighborhood to more native species and stuff like that. And that is more with the community, with local communities. So I think this kind of small solutions, when they scale to one part to the other part of the country, they are very effective. Thank you.
In the same line, I work with different initiatives when the young people don't work only in education. For example, works with other stakeholders in groups of restoration of forest fire. For example, Wild Tree is a NGO, and they works with the municipality and the regional government in the Valparaíso region for restoration, but with the communities, because for the young people it's very important include with other actors in the communities, because the hope in the future born in Act Now. Other example is Ñenco and Futaleufú River Keepers. They work in the south of Chile in Futaleufú. Promote and a law of wild rivers, because in the center of this country, the rivers is very works, and the south of Chile don't work with the rivers, and it's very important to promote their conservation. In other zones, for example, exist AI solutions in water care for children and young people too. It's very important care the natural resources in all actions, not only in the communities, in our act. Our act is an adaptation solutions. For example, I choose to keep this water on buy a bottle with water for other city, for other country. So exist a lot of NGOs or university groups who works in natural resource solutions, nature-based solutions, for example, wetlands artificials, or promote the conservation of urban wetlands. For example, Ojo de Mar works in Valparaíso Region 2, and they work promote pilpilene conservation and pilpilene nidification. Pilpilene is a very endangered bird, and it's very important conserved in a zone who is very damaged for the urban development and construction of a new port, San Antonio port. So it's very important for that community, yeah, work with the municipality and the regional government too, for promote, okay, here tourist, here people in, here construction, here condominiums. So it's very important in the development works with multi-scale stakeholders and with the other making decisions, because we can, but we need other actors believe in the young solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. And you have mentioned about the importance of this multi-stakeholder partnership and the multi-stakeholder work. And I think it's an excellent transition to the next experience. Many of you know about the Conference of Youth. It's an annual gathering organized by YONGO, that is the constituency of children and youth in UNFCCC. And the Global COIL is organized annually, but also now exists the local COIs, that are local conference of youth. And I am delighted also to welcome Emiko Sepúlveda and Bastián Barria, who are the organizers of the local COI in Chile. Then, yes, a big applause for them, of course. Then Emiko and Bastián. Then you are the organizers of the local COI. Now there are local COIs in all over the world. Then how do you consider that this will contribute to also accelerate the adaptation solutions? Please.
Okay, muchas gracias.
All right, thank you very much. Well, the Conference of Youth, as ELCHOI, were created under YONGO. This space raises a common point of view of the youth in Chile that looks to generate skills and to continue to work in these spaces that are presented to us together with decision makers and the private sector in order to follow with the decision-making progress. This version of 2023 aims to be an inclusive space for the youth that live in the entire national region. In that sense, our main pillars to follow the political discussion are placed on three main pillars. First of all, the training to increase the skills that young people have in order to better aim their efforts at the climate crisis. Also, the actions in order to increase the role that young people have in these communities, and also the role that they play for adaptation. And finally, declarations in order to boost more ambitions from the decision makers on an international and local levels. As part of the challenges that we were able to perceive around adaptation and climate change, linked especially towards young people, they were very limited to capacity creation and skills. In that sense, we believe that fostering the creation of capabilities and skills in order to empower the youth and so they become agents of change aimed towards adaptation is a key to proceed with this topic. Especially because we need to all agree that adaptation has to be done considering social, economic, cultural, and of course, so that youth is very well prepared and that they don't that they work aimed towards the best production of their regional governments. We have to shorten the gaps of education, whether it's to the formal access to education. Now, the youth has difficulties to access technologies that allow them to access, first of all, information itself, and also there are some language barriers that are also associated to the formal education that is currently given in our country and Latin America generally. And last, we have the development of a space for incidents where youth can really participate formally. We do not have a formal space where we can be present in the decision-making process, and in that sense, we believe that it's very important to give importance to the role of the youth so they can boost other groups and they can create this space that it can be a lot more transcendent with time and to be a lot more consolidated in the future, so we may have an opinion and a space that is finally for our participation that includes diversity, indigenous groups, and vulnerable groups, especially that are located in territories and very extreme regions in our country. Thank you, Bastian. Just to add to his LCOI information, I had prepared a very small presentation. Maybe we share later. It's very small. They asked me about the lessons that we learned in this process during 2023. We will have the third version of LCOI in Chile. The first one was virtual. The second one was in person in Valparaiso last year. So we have learned a lot. As we walk that path, we have realized that sometimes we carry the bad habits of adults in the ways that we organize ourselves. So the lessons that we have learned in that sense is that we need as youths to integrate the diversity of the different visions that we have. As Bastian said, to be more inclusive with gender considerations, with the indigenous groups, with infants that are not really considered in the jungle creation because it considers youth as 15 to 20 years of age. So we leave those that are younger than 15 years of age out of the decision making. People with other capabilities that are open to be vulnerable to climate change. As part of the LCOI 2023, we want to bring all these considerations. We want to be a lot more inclusive. We're working with organizations of Mapuche youth, people with disabilities, and especially other ethnic groups here in Chile. We believe that this should be repercussions on a global scale. We want our voices and our actions as youth to matter. Many times this adult-centered orientation looks down on small kids and they say, what would they know if they know nothing about life? And many times we have good ideas, we have good projects, and we are carrying out concrete initiatives as the one we showed in Cameroon. We are doing concrete actions and to press for mitigation and other things. And along that same line, we realize that we do have power. Maybe very little with those that actually represent the 1% or the 5% of this planet that are the ones that are making decisions or the most transcendental decisions. But that doesn't mean that we do not have power, and we have to empower ourselves. We have to boost this power. We have to exert everything in these spaces especially. A few of the recommendations that they gave us in order to support this guideline of adaptation is to integrate effectively the youth in these decision-making processes. As Joanna explained from the Ministry of Environment, it is the ministry that bolsters citizen participation more than any other, but there are other spaces, especially in the government, that are left outside of these processes. So we do need citizen participation, and very rarely or very lately, this has been considered as a very important stakeholder, as they are. They look at society as a whole, and they believe that the young people will just be part of that. But academia and the public sector, the private sector, also has to consider that we have very valuable ideas, just as anyone else. We have good ideas, we have concrete actions. We don't need to work only as consulting, as is the case with the government here in Chile, and I believe also everywhere else in the world. We need financing at technological support and education in order to promote our ideas to support young people. As we were discussing earlier today and discussing here with my colleagues, we need networks of support because this is a very complex world and we lack experience, so it's very hard to tackle these issues. So we need to do this in a joint effort and in ways that really motivates people to become adults that are aware that this is a problem that will not end, sadly, from here to 2030 or 2050. We have seen a few results from the last report, so this is a long-term fight that we have to carry. So we have to prepare them to be good adults tomorrow, and as we were saying, so that we can be leaders today. And finally, the need to democratize spaces, especially the spaces for youth. There is still a view that is very centered on adults, and in other spaces for the decision-making process. I believe personally, more than representing Alcoy, on a policy level here in the country, there are a bit of younger people making decisions, not that much more than we used to have before, but a bit younger, and we are applying the different practices that we have seen on different age levels. We don't need a president that is 35 years old. Maybe they could be younger than that. Sometimes that change is very necessary. That it's it. Thank you very much. From the local conference of youth, we need action and incidents in order to influence the decision-making processes. Now we will take a look at a different experience from Noan Bugolini. She works with Tremendas. She has an experience of empowerment, of training of young women. Please tell us your experience and how that work carried out by young women leads to adaptation actions.
Fine. The Tremendas Foundation is a platform for girls and young women to make significant changes in the world together. And our activism has led us to spaces like this conference. I, as a single, simple teenager, wouldn't be here, but all of us together have managed to get our voices and our ideas to be heard in spaces like this. We believe in intersectionality and the education of women and girls as crucial. We believe in the We believe in intersectionality and the education of women and girls as vital course of the action against climate change. And some of us have created ideas such as Academia Climáticas and the Plan B educational curriculum. And these ones have been, they've had, I'm sorry. No, it's fine. And these initiatives have had major changes already. I would like to ask the people here to take a look around for the rest of this conference and to pay attention to how many young people are around, to how many young women are around, and ask this question to yourselves over and over again regarding every marginalized group that is left out of the conversation. We as young people, we as women are the most affected by climate change, and we will be the most affected by climate change over time. And we need you as the ones in power to listen to us and to help us find our way inside, because we have the capability and we have the right to be here and to make our voices heard. Thank you.
The impacts of climate change affect all of us, as said by the IPCC report. However, young women, and young people are highly affected. Then now, from this, let's move to another part. that we have 2% more. Now we have good practices, but also the Conference of Youth is organized by YONGO. YONGO is the constituency in UNFCCC of Children and Youth, and we want to know, we have from 2 members of the YONGO platform, the YONGO constituency. We have here Lydia, and we have also Genaro. Lydia and Genaro, one question is, young people face different challenges to participate in decision-making processes, but also there are concrete needs. In your point of view, what are these challenges and also what needs? And I know, Lydia, you are the focal point of adaptation of YONGO. Also, you have been working very hard in all the process of the global goal on adaptation and the NAPs. What are your views and also your call to action to governments and young people? Over to you, Lydia.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me here. So I will speak a little bit about the gaps and challenges in the national adaptation plans and the global goal on adaptation. So regarding the NAPs, there are 3 main challenges we're having right now. The first 2 are vulnerability assessments and the formation of national adaptation plans. So for assessing the vulnerabilities, we have the IPCC supporting us. And many countries have already submitted or are in the process of finalizing and submitting their national adaptation plans. However, the third challenge, which I think arguably is the hardest one, is to find metrics and indicators that can assess the effectiveness and adequacy of adaptation measures that we're implementing. It is something completely new, and the challenge here is because all the adaptation actions we're having differ on country level, on the subnational level, and on the local level. So actually youth can play a really big role here. So what YONGO is doing is within the adaptation working group, we're actually preparing a submission to the AC to provide specific recommendations on the metrics and indicators that can support the formation of these kind of frameworks. And I think that we should encourage other youth organizations to create similar submissions if they are part of the, if they are observers also of the UNFCCC, but also individual governments to engage youth and youth-led organizations in identifying the metrics and the indicators to assess the adaptation effectiveness. And then moving on to the global goal on adaptation. So a very key thing here is the urgent need to find innovative technologies and solutions to adapt. And actually in the 5th workshop of the global goal on adaptation that just happened last week in the Maldives, the key point was to acknowledge and also understand more of local and indigenous-led adaptation actions. And the very big challenge here is to actually understand these practices, which can be very hard due to communication and language barriers. And so here, youth can actually also play a very big role, because youth are often, they understand the grassroots realities, but at the same time, they are very connected and most likely also have knowledge of different languages. So on the global goal on adaptation, there is one point, which is to include to ensure intergeneral integrity, but there's still a lot of room for improvement to include actually youth in the framework of the global goal on adaptation. So yeah, these are my viewpoints. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Adriana, and for hosting this event, and also to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Chile. I come here as a younger contact point of Finance and Market Working Group, but also we're working together alongside all different working groups inside YONGO. Basically, in each process, we have to represent the youth, and events like this, we run participation documents. So we ensure that the voice of the youth is represented in these spaces. So for this event, I'll bring some inputs that our fellow youth all around the world wanted to exchange for this important event. So first is the lack of awareness and understanding. Many youth people may not be aware of the national adaptation plans and the importance of climate change adaptation. Additionally, the language and the technical jargon used in the NAPs may be difficult for young people to understand and hinder their engagement. So based on the Raising Awareness Challenge, we need to give institutional incentives in schools and universities to also engage in these processes. So all learning processes are interconnected into these global challenges. And for that, we also need more opportunities for participation, and why not some formal opportunities? Like why not have, for example, a focal point, a youth focal point for adaptation plans that could go and speak on behalf of the youth and represent them in the national adaptation process. Be there in the negotiations, not as participations and by consulting, as Emiko said, but also be there in the table arranging everything that is following up on the consultations. And then there's another point to address that we at the young movement and socio-ecological movement also think about very closely is how we stop or like reduce the inequalities, differences, and the opportunities for participation in this kind of places. Here we are very privileged young people that are also very engaged in problem levels. We're very conscious of this, but we need to raise more capacity building, especially on the places that are gonna be hurt the most in terms of climate change effects, and that means going into communities that are low income, they're really far from big cities like Santiago, for example, and indigenous communities. So we also need to raise that barrier on, lessen that barrier on the language. Lastly, I want to just give this little input on, we need technical assistance because we have the youth-led projects that are very intertwined to the local problems because they're basically designed because of these problems occurs. But the great challenge for the youth movement, I think, is leveraging on the work that everyone is doing. We work together, coordinating, sharing experiences, sharing capacities, and participating together. But we also need to measure the impacts of youth-led initiatives to foster the integration into NAPs, but also the NDCs. And why not to leverage on the negotiation process to also gain resources and access to fund to these kinds of initiatives. So we're working together with multilateral banks, governments, and stakeholders at every level. And to really, measuring how much resilience we're building, like how many lives are we actually saving? Like half of the world, the last IPCC report assessment, the census report came out, 1 week ago, and there's the half of the world population that is endangered. And we, the youth, represent at least a third of that. So we need to know how much resilience we're building and leverage on and working together towards our common goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Genaro. And now, you know that we are here at the NAP Expo in Chile, and all this process is feeding to the COP28 that this year will take place in Dubai. And I am delighted to also welcome our next speaker, Amer Al-Kindi. He is the lead negotiator on adaptation of the United Arab Emirates. Then, first of all, thank you, Amer, for being with us. And we know that the co-presidency have defined adaptation, but also youth engagement and empowerment as key priorities. Please share with us a bit what are the plans for the COP28 and how also youth can be part of the process, not only in adaptation, but as well in decision-making processes. Over to you.
Thank you. Primero me gustaría agradecer al gobierno de Chile.
I'd like to thank the government of Chile for their kind hospitality. Thank you very much.
The Global Center on Adaptation for the opportunity to speak today, and all the youth who share this panel with me today, for your courage, for your passion, and also for your creativity and innovation. So thank you, everyone. I believe that it's very important to engage youth in the climate process, and for that engagement to be effective, it's important to build capacities of youth in terms of knowledge, skills, and also to make sure that they understand the science and also the politics of climate change, both sides of the issue. The UAE COP28 is very keen on ensuring that youth engagement is one of the key aspects of COP28. So I'm glad to announce that COP28 will have a position that's newly created position for a youth climate champion in the COP28 presidency. This is the first COP to have such a position, and this position is led by Her Excellency Sham al-Mazroui, who is only 29 years old. She's the Minister of Community Development in the UAE, and is the former Minister of Youth Affairs in the UAE. She was Minister of Youth Affairs since she was 23, actually. And the purpose of this role is to bridge the gap between the presidency on one side, governments, the UNFCCC, and different actors in the climate process by walking the talk and putting youth in the front seat of decision making. So this position is one of 3 top positions in the presidency. So we have the president designate, His Excellency Sultan Jaber, and we have the high-level champion, Her Excellency Razan Mubarak, and we have the youth climate champion, Her Excellency Sham al-Mazroui. Also, what the youth climate champion in the UAE aims to do is to promote youth engagement through 4 pillars. These 4 pillars are known together as PAVE. So PAVE, P for participation of youth, A for advancing youth-led climate action and ambition. V is for voice, making sure that youth voices and policy positions of advanced by youth are taken seriously through the process. And the E, so it's PAVE, so E for engagement, so making sure that youth are engaged. Let me check if I'm correct about the... So E is education, sorry. E is education, to make sure that knowledge building and improving the skills of youth in climate is a key aspect of our engagement of youth. So as you know that, I'm sure many of you know that more than 50% of countries around the world have no climate change education in their national curricula. And especially the gap is even bigger when it comes to climate adaptation knowledge. So when national curricula focus on climate education, normally they focus on climate mitigation and the need for mitigation, but they rarely address the issue of climate adaptation. So building knowledge and skills of youth in climate adaptation is key and important. One of the key initiatives that were announced by our youth climate champion is the International Youth Delegates Program. So the UAE COP28 presidency is going to fund 100 climate youth delegates from around the world to attend COP28 in the UAE, to fully participate in COP28. By the way, this is the right time for an applause. And also is going to help with building their capacities, knowledge, and skills in climate change, and make sure that they take part in different activities during COP28. And each one of these 100 youth delegates will be encouraged to choose one theme or one topic in climate change to specialize in and to gain in-depth knowledge and understanding of. And one of these topics is of course, adaptation. And me personally, I'll be really excited about meeting the youth delegates who want to focus on adaptation and maybe to work with them as well. The primary focus of this program is to attract youth from LDCs and SIDS, but it's also open to youth from everywhere. So these are some of the initiatives, Adriana, from COP28 presidency in the UAE to promote youth engagement and participation in COP28. And I'm sure that more will be coming throughout the year, and there will be more announcements as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are here at the NAP Expo in Chile, and we look forward to continue working with the COP presidency, but also with the LEC multi-stakeholder group. We are also very pleased that many members of the LEC are here, the chair, and many other members, because we want to establish this intergenerational partnership to accelerate adaptation solutions. We have some minutes more, and it is the time for all of you. Then now we have a code here. We want to invite you to use your mobile phone and use the code 89774690. You can use your mobile phone and scan the code. And we are going to use Mentimeter also to hear from you, from the participants that are here present in Chile, but also if you are online and you can, then also bring your input. Then the first question that we have using the Mentimeter is, what are the challenges to foster youth engagement with the national policies and actions? Then we will have 3 questions. When you go to the Mentimeter, remember, you can use the code 89774690, and there will be 3 questions. The first one is about the challenges, the second is about the needs, and the third is about the good practices. But I don't want to miss the opportunity. We have some LEC members here. Also, the time is now for you to share the good practices. And I would like to invite Hannah, also from the LEC, from the multi-stakeholder group. I think that we have a microphone over there. Oh, here we have another. If you can, we can just pass you can continue putting your inputs in the Mentimeter, we can put the next slide. And now the time will be for sharing good practices. Then we want to know from governments and also other stakeholders what good practices, how you can engage young people, what governments are doing, what works well, and how we can learn.
Yeah, thank you, Adriana, for this opportunity. I'm Hannah Hamdallah from Sudan. I'm LEG member, but I will reflect the Sudan experience in the government, Sudan experience in the engagement of youth. Sudan engaged the youth in the climate change issue since 2015, and just last year, we have 2 big events for the youth. One of them, the government, through the Higher Council for Environment and Natural Resources, supports the youth to organize their first Sudan ELCOI, the local conference for youth. And this is to engage the youth with multi-stakeholders and discuss the Sudan position and give them the space also to reflect their views and idea and vision regarding this Sudan position.
in the climate change negotiation. And one of the main issues that discussed is adaptation, because one of Sudan priorities is adaptation and finance. This is the main thematic areas that discussed with them. And also we have last year, at the end of last year, after the COP, we have national NDCs youth program, and this program supported also by the government through Higher Council as a climate change focal point and UNDP, and this is also to make the engagement of the youth with the different stakeholders from different line ministries, and also give them the space not just to knowledge about the NDCs, no, but give them the space also to create initiative about the thematic areas that Sudan identified in their NDCs. The last experience is what is called Enable Sudan Youth Program, and this is supported by the African Development Bank and also by the government. That is the objective of this program is to enhance the youth to be engaged in the agricultural program, and also increase the employment of the youth that graduated from the university. So I will give the space for the other.
Thank you very much, Hannah. We are now in the space of learning between different countries, organizations, and also just young people. Is there any other contribution? Yes, let's, before that, the return to the panelists, I see over there, then Orlando? Then also, I know that we have another experience, is from Mozambique. And Carla, would you like to share a bit the experience of Mozambique, also promoting these local youth, the local adaptation plans, but especially the youth engagement?
Can I speak in Portuguese?
Yes, and then I will try to translate. Yeah.
Obrigada. Muitas gracias. O Moçambique tem um processo de elaboração de planos locais de adaptação. É um processo participativo a nível dos distritos ou a nível local, em que um dos grupos focais com quem nós trabalhamos são exatamente os jovens. No processo de elaboração do NAP, também nas nossas consultas públicas, envolvemos os jovens, também no processo de consultas para a elaboração do processo do NAP. Obrigada.
Thank you very much, Carla. Obrigada. Then in Mozambique, they also have developed, that is a very interesting experience, local adaptation plans. And young people and youth organizations are part in the formulation and implementation of these local adaptation plans. There are public consultations, but also other mechanisms. And I think that is something to also replicate. We have the national adaptation plans, but also the local adaptation plans and the engagement of young people. Then what I would like to do, Paloma, if you help me, is now we will turn back to the panelists, and what I would like is that I think that there is a question, please.
Muchas gracias. ¿Puede ser en español?
Thank you very much. Can be in English, of course. Thank you. I want to thank all the panelists and the chance also. I would like to take the advantage to comment something that has happened in restoration matters here in Chile. It's a very important event, and this year, sadly, because of the wildfires, the program that was created from the youth of the Ñuble region in order to help the Ayumanki environment, it burned down. I would like for these type of panels to take place. Not only I would like to request for them to also take place in different regions. For example, the Ñuble or Maule region, Biobío region, that were really affected by the wildfires, where we had programs and restoration programs for ecosystems that burned down. Today, these communities should also have to have a voice to be able to comment what happened, and together with our community, I feel that this is very important for the youth to discuss and to be able to discuss with the panel. So I would like to congratulate you also. But we still continue with conflicts and environmental issues, and this is the time for these type of events to be decentralized. I would also like to raise my hand to generate the question for those that are taking part in the panel today. If this occasion generates for you, in order to generate for the whole community, the optimal conditions to create dialogue and the search on how we, the human beings, can adapt to the climate crisis, what do you think in 1 or 2 years' time when these panels continue to happen, hoping that they will be a lot more decentralized? How do you think you stand in a sense that how will we fare? Thank you very much.
We now continue. What I will do is I will invite all members of the panel, very, very brief, because now we are just closing, to give the takeaway, this recommendation, and also to reply to the question. Then you will have very brief. Let's try that it is 30 seconds. Just take aways and responses. It's difficult, but I am sure that you can make it because we have a very extensive panel. Then, Joana, please.
Aló, sí, ay, perdón. Sí, gracias, Adriana.
Thank you very much, Adriana. I am really very happy because I see we have many points in common of intersectionality, the diverse representation of different engines and people and communities that are able to integrate the implementation plans of adaptation. These laws in every region should have parameters for participation processes in Maule, Biobío, Araucanía to have these implementations on a national adaptation for climate change. So this is the opportunity to have all these alternatives and solutions, these options for restoration in order to move forward with adaptation. We have a specific plan for diversity where we can also pick up a few guidelines for a regional level. I also want to comment that yes, we do have challenges, and I believe we're moving towards the first steps, that is recognizing the efforts of the youth for the climate change fight, but we have to aim this towards the implementation of adaptation actions. That's where we have to put all our energies into implementations. We're in a very vulnerable country on a regional level. For Latin America, we're very exposed to diverse climate threats, and we have to move towards solutions that have to be inclusive with a vectorial focus aimed towards the most vulnerable areas with social justice towards a more just effort. That's where we have to aim our different efforts. Well, I come from the Tarapacá region, from Iquique. I lived for a long time in Alto Hospicio, one of the most vulnerable communities in Chile. And I believe reaching an instance where I can participate and also feel represented, of course, in a community has also led me to consider this issue, both with El COI, you, and the world. Let me tell you that currently the climate crisis and ecology crisis is not popular. It's not a popular discussion, something that we can discuss in any single type of conversation. So we need to popularize this discussion around the climate and ecological crisis and the ways that we can adapt to everything that's coming. According to the last report of the IPCC, we have many issues that we have to tackle in many different senses. We also want to reach different territories. We want to create 8 encounters for 2 regions, 2 macrozone encounters, and finally the Alcoy as a conference, final conference, will take place in the city of Concepcion in southern Chile, also to tackle different issues that are affecting our territories. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The LODC group will continue to engage the youth and also learn from their innovative ways of doing adaptation planning as well as implementation. But I think more importantly, we need to start documenting what is already happening with the youth, what processes are taking place in various parts of this world, so that we are able to feed back into the system for better planning as well as implementation of the national adaptation plans.
Thank you very much, because this event has been possible because we have the leadership of Chile, the government that is hosting the NAP Expo 2023, but especially because the support of the LEC multi-stakeholder group. Then thank you, Venon. Thank you also to the chair and to all the LEC members for making this event possible, and also to UNFCCC. And we look forward to continue working with you very closely to really document what is happening, but also to provide examples that government can use to enhance the participation of youth in the national adaptation plans. Thank you very much.
Sí, por aquí mi principal takeaway.
Yes, here my main takeaway of my learnings that I take home is the thing that U.S. partners are not only as beneficiaries, and the youth here are also beneficiaries of the initiatives of the private sector. It's not something for an existential crisis, but it's something that we have to consider. That's my main takeaway, and I also wanted to compliment my colleague here that raised the question of how we can take this conversation into different territories. That I think that is a very important discussion in this whole climate change issue. We're very centralized with the COPs. Chile is a very centralized country, so it's obvious that this will happen in Santiago, but as my colleague Bastian said, we will have 2 bi-regional encounters to try to be present in as many territories as possible. So for everyone who's looking at us, please be aware of El Coy Chile, at El Coy Chile in Instagram. And we want to raise the issues of youth in all the territories in the country. So every 2 regions we'll have a bi-regional encounter with you. So thank you very much.
Bueno, muchas gracias ante todo.
Thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity or for the amazing words that all the members here in the panel have shared. I'm very happy with the answer of the government, and I'm very proud of everything that has been proposed here. As my key takeaways, I want to say that what really stuck to me was how to reach implementation. We, as youth, have projects. The territories have projects based on the issues that we face, but we need to start working very fast and together in a joint effort in order to measure the impacts that we may have, and to include this with all the different stakeholders of the LDCs and SNAPs. And for that, we need coordination of every different level and sector, and every government level also. So in order to do that, we need to keep working, to keep raising awareness about this issue and their associated risks, and also to have this reach every level in society. Thank you very much.
Bueno, me sumo a los.
I also want to thank you all, and I want to add a very important point that it's related to the way that we communicate. Because there's that disconnection, that's the general diagnosis between what the youth is doing that is kind of underground versus the vertical level of national adaptation plans. And we need that connection of the big plans to the local level. And I believe here we all play a role of those of us that are more scientific, who has the freshest knowledge, with the way of how people in Ñuble understand this. Would this panel of this caliber be understood in Ñuble by the actual agents, or do we have to change the way that we communicate with the different people? I believe that that's the work that we all have to take and have to do to allow that community plan to be understood by every single agent, by these NGOs that are a bit underground, but also it's our work as activists or agents to learn slowly and to use these instances not only on a global center level, but also to generate tools that make these plans to be multi-level to reach all the different communities. Thank you very much. I would like to add also a bit to the question that was raised. When we talk about decentralizing, we are talking about intersectionality. The climate crisis increases the oppression of different marginalized groups. Just like there are people who live in regions that live in a rural context, there are also people that have disabilities, women, and minority groups. All of these groups can see their conditions worsen, and all this is connected. We need to take down all the systems that we have of people that have more priority over others if we want to face this climate crisis. And also regarding what was being discussed here, what we want to see here in the future, hopefully in a more inclusive and decentralized way. Hopefully that this is not aimed more towards the leader and the authorities that already have the space to be recognized, but hopefully to be aimed toward those that are on site suffering the consequences of climate change. I know this is a huge advancement, but I feel that we're running out of time and we need to move faster. Thank you very much. I have a message for the youth of the NAP Expo. Please visit our website of COP28 and try to reach the International Youth Delegates Program. And welcome to COP28.
Bueno, voy a tratar.
Well, I will try to speak Spanish.
Bueno, el de
Climate change, especially and NAPs or NAPs, is something that we haven't found before. So we need the knowledge of everyone. It is very important to work with youth in this process, and not only to do something such as tokenization, but to create specific action points. And in addition, I didn't understand your question clearly, but I understood it was something about fires or wildfires. And at this moment, many countries require the capacity, require early warning systems. We have the possibility to create youth capacity to create these systems and also to make them more applicable and easier to understand in local communities.
I was the former COE 15 general coordinator, and in that position I have the possibility to present the idea to the government of Chile of have youth negotiators. And we were kind of very aggressive when we went there to speak with the government. We say, we want this. Like we were like looking for a fight with the government, and the government say, okay, let's do it. And other governments are taking the same actions. I think that is very important when I see, for example, now the United Arab Emirates working with youth people, putting a youth champion there in their program, in their COP, when Chile had already building the third generation of the youth negotiators, Zimbabwe doing their consultations with youth people. This is growing and growing more. I think we need to still scale more on this idea, but I think we also need to be happy because youth people, youth voices are being heard by governments more and more open, in a more and more open way, and we need to try to maintain this momentum and grow it even more. We need to address this problem together because it's everybody problem, and we need to take the solution also together. Thank you.
Mil gracias a todos ustedes, de corazón.
Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you for your energy, your enthusiasm, for making things possible. A special salute to all of you for being with us today at this event that renews hope, that makes a call to action, that invites governments to work together with youth, because we have no time, and it is our only opportunity to create alliances and solutions. A special thank you to the government of Chile, to our Chilean brothers. Julio, thank you, to your team, Joanna, and to everyone who have worked at this event. Again,
Look forward to continue working with you, to the UNFCCC Secretariat, and to everyone that has made this event possible. Finally, the 3 key takeaways. There is no time to act. We have an emergency, and we need to accelerate adaptation action. Then, on behalf of the Global Center on Adaptation, thank you very much to all of you. We look forward to continue working, and we hope that these kind of events, giving the platform for young people and governments will continue in the next NAP Expos, but also looking forward to working with the government of the Emirates to have a successful COP28, and hopefully that the decision about the global goal on adaptation will include the importance of youth participation in the decision-making process. Thank you to all of you, and if you want, now we will just finalize the live stream. Thank you all to all the participants from all over the world that have joined this live stream session at the NAP Expo in Chile. And the participants here, if you want, we are inviting everyone to join here because here we are going to take a family photo. Thank you very much and have an excellent day.
Gracias a ti. Gracias a ti, Adriana.
Shukran. Everyone is welcome. Please, if you want to join, please join us for a family photo because the next session will start in 10 minutes. Please.